Hey, Battle Bill here with another video, and today we're going to get into some more Ultra League Go Battle League battles. So, in the last video I showed you guys some Honchkrow Spice. Today's video I'm going to show you a team that I believe you can have success with. It's a team I showcased like 2 videos ago. It's a team you've definitely seen from Zionic or J Pharmacus, and it's the Obstagoon Cresselia Charizard team. Now the main difference in the way I run it is I like to lead with Obstagoon, and as we go through these battles maybe we'll talk about how that lead might affect the way you use this team, but we're definitely going to go through its matchups, the strengths, and the weaknesses of this team. So let's get into these battles. Okay, so getting into these battles, in my first match, I'm going up against Climb Worldwide. This opponent I've seen a lot of, and the name sticks out because when I think of Climbing Worldwide, I think of the leaderboards, and I miss the leaderboards, but I understand why they're not up, and Niantic still needs to fix a lot before they can be back up. Anyhow, getting into this first matchup, I got an Obstagoon on a Swampert Lead here, and the only way Obstagoon actually wins this matchup is if I get the boost on like the first Night Slash. If I don't get the boost here, then Swampert essentially outpaces me to the Hydro Cannons and will take me out in like the 0 and 1 shield situations, probably even the 2 shield to be honest. The only way that Obstagoon can win this with the boost is its counters are doing boosted damage, and that's what essentially allows you to take out Swampert in these types of situations. But either way, notice how he actually got to his next Hydro Cannon before I was able to tap on my Night Slash. I'm going to shield this up. I like to play out the 1 shield situation here just so that I can get the Swampert at least low enough so I can bring in Cresselia later to then farm down the Swampert and deal with whatever other Pokemon my opponent has in the back. So I'm going for this Night Slash here. I'm hoping to get a shield. I do get a shield. I'm going to get in more counter damage here, and I'm hoping to actually outpace it, and I do beat it to the next charge move, which I don't know if that's because I got to an extra counter or two because the game's been a little clunky. I've noticed my Obstagoon getting in certain counters where my opponents are not exactly moving, so that might have been part of it. And I end up getting his second to last shield, and do I decide to shield this one or not? Do I play out the 2 shield because I feel like I'm ahead enough? No, I don't play out the 2 shield. Okay, so I decide to let my Obstagoon go down. It actually doesn't go down. I get another counter in, and then it gets Mud Shot down. I'm going to bring in my Cresselia. I'm going to let Cresselia eat a couple Hydro Cannons, and I'm going to commit to Psycho Cutting this Swampert down. So he's going to get to a Hydro Cannon here. Not going to shield it. I'm pretty sure in this clip my opponent gets to another Hydro Cannon after this one, and I don't shield that one either because I just want to make sure my Cresselia has a bunch of energy for, excuse me, whatever else he has in the back. So this Hydro Cannon's about to come through. Notice how it's got me to half health. It took him 2 Hydro Cannons, but now my Cresselia is full on energy. I'm kind of expecting a Registeel. Ends up being a Registeel, so I go for the immediate swap and bring in my Charizard, and then he brings in an Obstagoon, and because I have a shield advantage here and a slight energy advantage, my goal is to essentially blast burn this Obstagoon down, possibly leave this situation with a little bit of extra energy to then throw a blast burn at the Registeel, because that Registeel does not have much energy on it. So as long as I can get this Obstagoon down and survive with a little bit of health, I should be able to outpace the Registeel to its Flash Cannon. So that Blast Burn goes through, does a solid chunk. He's going for a charge move here. I am going to shield this. It's going to be a Night Slash. It wouldn't take me out, but it had me low enough where the counters would take me out. And I don't remember, do I try and Fire Spin? No, I don't think I try Fire Spin down. Do I get greedy? Oh, I got greedy! I did Fire Spin down. That was risky. He was probably like 1 counter away from another Night Slash, and again, back to what I mentioned earlier, that was so risky because of the fact that if he got in like an extra counter because my Fire Spin just wouldn't go through, then he would have outpaced me and taken out my Charizard, which is really like not a mistake on my gameplay. It's more of it that shouldn't happen. But the game's clunky right now, and we gotta try our best to account for that and play around it as best as we can if we want to continue doing these matches. So if I'm taking the risk of playing these matches during this time, I gotta be understanding of what could possibly happen in each of these matchups. Either way, he threw a Flash Cannon, he undercharged it. It should have taken out my Charizard, but I'm assuming he must have given up because once that Blast Burn landed, my Cresselia would have beaten the Registeel, even though Registeel typically walls Cresselias. So, because my Cresselia was at like what? It was still at half health, but it had energy. It had a bunch of energy. It had a whole Moonblast because of the fact that I farmed that Swampert down. So, opponent gave up there. Getting into the second match, I'm going up against I Play Tennis, and I got an Obstagoon on Giratina Lead here. So, I can win this lead, but it depends on the Giratina's moveset. I will not beat this specific Giratina. This Giratina is running Dragon Breath as a quick move. You can see with the purple spray coming right at my Obstagoon that's running Dragon Breath. Obstagoon can beat Giratina Altered if it's running Shadow Claw, and that's without a boost. Now, if I get a boost against a Dragon Breath Giratina, I do think getting the boost will allow my Obstagoon to win in this matchup, but I would need the boost like after, again, the first Night Slash. So right here, it's not looking too great, but I do seem to be getting in a little bit of some extra counters, and I'm hoping to at least leave this situation at like a one shield situation, and the my opponent's Giratina Altered at lower health. I do get the boost there, and at that point, I'm like, alright, I'm 100% shielding here. Now, do I want to commit 2 shields is the question, and it really depends on how much lower my Obstagoon's health gets as this Giratina Altered continues to Dragon Breath at me. Because you'll notice, even though these counters are like double resisted because of Giratina Altered's Ghost typing, they're doing a little bit of damage, and they don't even get stabbed from Obstagoon because it's a Dark and Normal type. But that Night Slash gets shielded. I do seem, again, you see how my Obstagoon kind of jumps across and the Giratina's just standing there? It's not lag, it's just the game's clunkiness right now. So it's like, I'm not trying to take advantage, but I'm just tapping on the screen, and my quick move's going through, and theirs isn't. So I'm able to get to another Night Slash there. And at this point, as much as I have the boost, and I would love to... No, I don't shield this, right? I do shield this. That was risky, too. Oh, man, I played real risky in this set. And I outpaced it before. I was worried the Dragon Breaths were going to take me down. That's why I was like, it's not really that smart to shield there, but getting switch advantage is just so important in any PvP battle. So I was like, I'll risk it. And that Dragon Breath got me to like 1 HP. Turned out to be worth it, obviously. And now this Registeel is going to come in and lock on me down, but that's totally fine because I got a whole Charizard in the back. So this team obviously does... Its main counter to Charizard, its main counter to Registeel is Charizard, and my opponent ends up quitting there because he brings in his Armor Mewtwo, and I have a Cresselia which absolutely walls Armor Mewtwo. But for Registeels, Charizard's the main counter, but an Obstagoon with shields can also deal solid damage to Registeels. Having those 2 Pokemon to surround Cresselia really helps deal with Registeels because Cresselia does get walled by Registeels, but Cresselia can deal with a lot of the rest of the meta. Getting into this third match, I have an Obstagoon on a Gyarados Lead, and this is one of my favorite lead situations for Obstagoon for a few reasons. These counters, even though they're resisted, do start to add up. I wildly outpace Gyarados to its charge moves because Night Slash is a much smaller move, counter charges up energy a lot quicker than Dragon Breath does, and the Dragon Breaths from Gyarados really aren't hurting that much on Obstagoon, probably because of the fact that Gyarados doesn't get stab on it, even though it looks like a dragon. And then the last reason why I love this lead is because Gyarados' cheapest charge move is Crunch, and a Crunch, since will be resisted by Obstagoon, and will not do much damage to it. So a Gyarados really needs to build all the way up to a Hydro Pump before it can throw a charge move to try and at least bluff the fact that it's going to throw a Hydro Pump to get a shield, which is why I'm shielding here because they did charge up enough for a Hydro Pump. They go for the Crunch, and I'm okay with getting baited because it still would take a while for them to get all the way back up to another Hydro Pump after they've thrown that Crunch. So right now we're at 1 shield apiece. I'm throwing another Night Slash here. My opponent decides a double shield, which I find extremely fascinating because Gyarados loses literally every shielding situation against Obstagoon, so I'm wondering if they're just hoping that I'll give them switch advantage because I don't want to commit my shields, but I have no problem shielding another Crunch, even though it would do minimal damage, and I probably would have survived and gotten to the Night Slash anyway, but I wanted to have a little bit more health for my Obstagoon so that whatever comes in, maybe if it's not dealing a lot of quick move damage, my Obstagoon can get off damage on that too. So Gyarados goes down, I win out that lead situation. They bring in a Cresselia, and my hope has been answered. Because Psycho Cut is definitely not taking out my Obstagoon. They have to throw a Moonblast to take out my Obstagoon. So I can at least get off 1 Night Slash here. And who knows, maybe I'll get the buff, and maybe they'll want to overcharge, and I can get off a second Night Slash. I don't get the buff. I am getting very close to that next Night Slash. They decide to go for the Moonblast. I think they overcharge a little bit, but I'm totally cool with this because their Cresselia is lower in health. I can bring in my own Cresselia now, and with that health advantage, as long as I don't get wildly debuffed compared to their Cresselia from the Moonblasts, I should be able to continue to take this portion of the match, and it'll fall on whatever my opponent's last Pokemon is versus my last Pokemon, which is Charizard. So they throw a Moonblast there. They don't get they did get the debuff on me. They did get the debuff. Sometimes I mix it up because the quick move damage after the charge move will say not very effective, and I'll read that and think, wait, did my attack fall? And I'll be like, wait, no, it means your quick move, it just isn't hurting my Cresselia, because both things appear in that same spot. Obviously, you could tell the difference between the two, because if your attack fell, then they have the little like aura going above your Cresselia. You like that demonstration? That's what it looks like, apparently to me. And they got a second debuff, but luckily my Cresselia just had that much more health, and I'm at least matching them for Moonblast here, that even though they're getting all the debuffs and I am not as lucky to get any debuffs, my Cresselia still has a good chunk more health than their Cresselia. So again, they're a little bit ahead of me. They overfarmed a bit of energy after taking while taking down my Obstagoon, but this Moonblast will get me a little closer to the red, but I will go for mine. This will get them into the red. This will not take out their Cresselia, and I don't remember, I think I decided to swap into Charizard? No, the health wasn't low enough yet. I was trying to get it low enough so I could just bring in Charizard and Fire Spin down, but I just hadn't gotten it low. And then we both decided to swap because I wanted to catch a Moonblast on my Charizard, and they swapped too to try and catch a Moonblast, and they brought in Registeel, and this is GG. So they're going to go for their Flash Cannon. I guess they just want to play out the match. Valiant effort. I respect that completely, but they don't have a single chance here. They could throw a Flash Cannon, a Focus Blast, and Charizard's still going to survive. Between my Fire Spins and this Blast Burn, I'm going to take out their Registeel, and now their Cresselia will come back in with some energy, but their Cresselia does not have Future Sight, and that's a big deal. They use Grass Knot and Obstagoon, they have Moonblast. Neither of those things are going to be hitting Charizard for neutral damage, so I'm not worried about it. They can throw this charge move here. Them not having Future Sight is a really big deal here, and because Future Sight, I think, would have either taken me out or gotten me just so low that they might have been able to Psycho Cut me down, because now I'm going to throw this Dragon Claw, and I don't think this takes out Cresselia's remaining... Oh, no, it does. Alright. It takes out the remaining health, but if they had Future Sight, this match would have been a little bit closer. Okay. Getting into this fourth match from going up against Will I Shire. I've been so distracted by the commentary and the play-by-play that I think I'm having a positive set, but I don't really remember the record off the top of my head. Getting into this next match, this is not a positive situation. So I've got Obstagoon on Escavalier, and Escavalier Lead is like this team's biggest weakness. What I do is I swap immediately to my Charizard, and there's a few reasons for it. Typically, I wouldn't recommend you swapping to your hardest counter when you lose lead like that, but the reason why I do it with this team specifically is because if I swap to Cresselia, I've been getting met with a bunch of Registeels, and Cresselia gets absolutely walled there. Sometimes when I swap to Cresselia, the Escavalier will stay in, and if it gets those Mega Horns, it has an energy advantage now, and those Mega Horns will hurt my Cresselia a lot. And then the last reason is, when I bring in Charizard, they take a second or two to think about what they want to swap to, and Escavalier is double weak to fire damage, so when I get in a couple Fire Spins, I can take it down about a quarter of its health, so at least there's something positive there. They match me with the Cresselia, and I don't really mind that too much. They're going for a charge move here. We're both at even shields. I'm hoping this will be a Moonblast. I'm hoping I'm essentially calling their bait or calling their moveset. Ends up being a Moonblast, so I'm totally fine with that. I'm going to continue to Fire Spin down, and then I'm going to go for the Blast Burn, because the Dragon Claw would not take out the Cresselia even from that health. So I'm going to go for this Blast Burn here. It will either get their last shields, or we'll take out the Cresselia. It takes it out, and now this match depends on whatever their third Pokemon ends up being. So we're waiting to see what they decide to bring in. They're apparently running a double Steel strat, and their third Pokemon is Registeel, and typically this would be great for something like Charizard, but my Charizard's health is now super low. So the plan here is they're going for a Flash Cannon. I'm going to definitely shield it. I need to land the Dragon Claw bait, and then hopefully try and land the Blast Burn on that Registeel. So I'm going for the Dragon Claw here. But I gotta be weary because Charizard's health is so low. The lock-ons from Registeel really aren't gonna do much damage, but what they end up doing is they swap and they bring in the Escavalier, and as much as my Fire Spins hurt, their counters hurt, and that was a big mistake. I pulled up my switch menu. I should have swapped to my Cresselia there, because if I kept Charizard lined up with Registeel, the lock-on damage would not have hurt Charizard that much, and I possibly could have Blast Burned it. By leaving in Charizard there, now this Escavalier has an energy advantage against my Cresselia, and you can see how much those Mega Horns are really hurting. So I'm hoping I can at least outpace it to this next one, and I don't end up outpacing it, but they did get there pretty quick, so this isn't going to end up being a Mega Horn. This ends up being a Drill Run, which I will be able to survive. So I get this Moonblast off. This will take out the Escavalier's remaining health, but I'm not sitting in the best situation because Cresselia is almost dead, and yes, I have a full health Obstagoon, but they have a practically full health Registeel, and I really need to catch a Flash Cannon. I pull off a swap too early, and I don't end up catching the Flash Cannon. This is going to be a Focus Blast, which will one-shot my Obstagoon. One other thing I noticed was they honestly might have just committed to a lock-on farm down. I was hoping they would try and take out my Cresselia and go for the Flash Cannon. That's what I was essentially hoping for, because if they just lock on farm me down, then they throw the Focus Blast and my Obstagoon is screwed. Whereas if maybe I caught a Flash Cannon, Obstagoon could have gotten to a Night Slash, dealt those counter damage, and I could have maybe had some hope there. But Cresselia's health was pretty low, and because Cresselia doesn't deal a lot of damage at all with any of its moves to Registeel, they could have comfortably committed to that lock on farm down. So that's an unfortunate situation for this team to be in. That's a big weakness for this team. Not Cresselia. Escavalier Lead's big weakness. So I'm just going to wait for this 5th opponent match to line up. And honestly, Registeel can be a bit of an issue because, like I said, Obstagoon needs shields to deal with it, and Cresselia gets absolutely walled. But that's the main reason why I ended up dropping Gyarados and picking up Charizard. You'll also notice this wait time is a bit longer than usual, and that's because if you notice my rating, not to brag or anything, but I'm in like the upper 2700s, and as you start to get up there, the matchmaking system has a harder time finding you opponents. So we're going to sit here and wait patiently until I find this opponent. So I actually remember this 5th round taking a little bit longer to find somebody. I was like, what is going on here? But yeah, that ends up happening when your rating gets a little bit higher. Let's think about what are some other weaknesses of this team off the bat. Obviously, any counter lead, like running into a Poliwrath, can be a bit of an issue. In that situation where I ran to the Escavalier Lead, I've swapped in my Charizard and ran into a bunch of Swamperts, which is like let's just say GG right off the bat. And then if I bring in Cresselia, I run into a Registeel, so you can't win when those Escavalier Leads for the most part. Either way, let's get into the 5th match. Again, Obstagoon on a Registeel Lead here, and this isn't the worst now because I have shields, and I like to play this out a certain way, but it all depends on me timing a specific swap that I don't exactly always pull off. So if I don't pull it off, then I play it out a different way. I go for the Night Slash. I am hoping for the boost. What I'm also hoping is that they're gonna not try and bait me, but I have to shield the Focus Blast no matter what. So a majority of the time, the Registeels are going to bait me, and they go for the Flash Cannon, unfortunately. I need to start trying to call more of those bluffs, but I'm just worried a Focus Blast is going to come through and literally one-shot my Obstagoon. Either way, I have the Registeel in the yellow. I'm going to throw this Night Slash, and the plan from here is I'm going to counter down a little bit more. I'm going to hope they're going for a Focus Blast, and I'm going to try to swap, but I didn't even click the arrow. I just completely mistimed it and misjudged it, and I don't want to lose my entire full health Obstagoon, so I decide to shield again. Since I messed up that swap, my new plan is just counter down the Registeel and hope that my Obstagoon has enough energy to get at least one of those 2 shields that my opponent has. Because now I'm at a huge energy disadvantage, but at least Obstagoon does have full health because those lock-ons literally don't do anything. So they bring in a Cresselia, and this is actually a positive thing because I have at least 2 Night Slashes, so I can at least spam those. The Cresselia is going to need to get to 2 Moonblasts to take out my Obstagoon, so I do have an opportunity here to essentially get those shields back. So sometimes in that lead situation against a Registeel, committing to the Obstagoon and maybe being at a huge shield disadvantage can end up working out to be a positive thing. So I've already thrown 2 Night Slashes. I'm going for the 3rd one here. Got to a 3rd one before they even threw their first Moonblast. They should be at that Moonblast though, like right about now. They might have overcharged like 1 Psycho Cut also. But I've gotten the Cresselia all the way in the red. They still haven't given up a shield though, which is concerning me. And notice how I got like 3 counters in and they only did 1 Psycho Cut. This game is so clunky. They're going to go for a Moonblast here. This will not take me out. Gets me in the red, but that's fine with me. And then they end up swapping, and I'm like, I'm okay with that too. I'll throw these Night Slashes. But I am a bit concerned because I do have a Charizard in the back, so I need to make sure Cresselia stays lined up with the Swampert. So I think I throw this and swap to Cresselia. Yeah, because I don't want to take any chances of our switch timers being out of line and that Swampert potentially getting lined up with my Charizard later on. So I know Charizard can deal with the remaining health in that Cresselia because it's practically done for him, and I'm pretty confident in my Cresselia to deal with the Swampert even though it's at a 2 shield to no shield disadvantage. So he landed that Earthquake. I am kind of hoping for a debuff on this Moonblast. That would definitely make me feel a little bit more comfortable in this situation. This ends up getting my opponent's first shield. I don't get the debuff, which which is okay because they need to go for another Earthquake and a Hydro Cannon to take out my Cresselia. And as you'll notice, I'm already at another Moonblast here. So we're going to wait to see what charge move they decide to go for. It ends up being a Hydro Cannon. I think an Earthquake from this current health my Cresselia is at will take out my Cresselia. I'm surprised they didn't just go for like back-to-back Earthquakes, but I guess they realized I was outpacing them and they were worried about the debuff. I get the debuff there, which is big, which is huge, because if they go for a Hydro Cannon now, it won't take me out, and I'm pretty sure I can even survive an Earthquake, and then they pull off a great swap. Not only did they clear their debuff, but now they sacked their Cresselia, which was practically dead already, and their Swampert has a bunch of energy. So they're going to throw this Hydro Cannon here. Is it a Hydro Cannon? Yeah, it ends up being a Hydro Cannon. And I go and I swap back into Obstagoon because they can't mud shot me down and they might not know where my energy's at. So they decide to throw another Hydro Cannon, which will get a majority of the rest of their energy. They might have one mud shot's worth of energy here. And now I can kind of comfortably bring in Charizard. Charizard's going to get Hydro Cannon for sure. But the great thing about Ultra League Charizard is it can survive a Hydro Cannon, whereas in Great League, it cannot. So this Hydro Cannon will go through. Charizard will survive, I will get to this Dragon Claw, and I will be able to take out the Swampert and win this match. I'm pretty confident. I just remember this set well. I think I went 4-1, and I think this set was a great showcase of this team's strengths and one of its bigger weaknesses that we showed in the last match. So, that's the set. So, that's the Obstagoon Cresselia Charizard team. I tried to go over as many of the strengths and weaknesses as I could in this set, but it was only 5 matches. But right now, this is like my favorite Ultra League team, so expect future videos on it. Expect more Spice options, and now that Go Bad League is back, feel free to hit me up on Twitter, slide in those DMs, and send me your clips. I have no problem shoutcasting it for you guys. Other than that, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.